But it must be a frustrating way to finish.
Yeah, definitely. I think when we went 1-0 up, we had a good bit of momentum in the game, especially the first 15 minutes. To go 1-0 up was obviously really good, and we wanted to build on that in the second half, and obviously a decision which obviously changed the flow of the game. Yeah, it was tough, but yeah, the lads done amazingly well, obviously in the second half to dig it out, to fight with our fans, and in the end, that's obviously a really good point against the team that are in really good form at the minute.
Yeah. So how did you see that decision? What did the referee say to you at the time? Could you understand what was going on?
Yeah, I was shocked. I think you could see in my face I was shocked. He's obviously gone over. I've not sprinted back in front of him and smashed the ball away. I've touched the ball with the outside of my foot. But look, this is the laws of the game. If you touch the ball even a little bit, obviously it's a red card after my challenge in the first half, which I fully accept, a 50-50 that I didn't win. But the second half one, especially with it being in the corner flag, they can't really progress from anywhere there. So look, it was tough, it was harsh. But it's one of them things, I have to move on from it. I'll be better for it, and I can only really praise the players, to be honest with you, for digging deep for me, and the manager for pushing everyone, and the fans as well, who were unbelievable again this afternoon. So yeah, that's how I see it. Yeah.
So what did you make of the reaction, as you mentioned there, not just the players but the supporters and the atmosphere inside the stadium? And we could have won it as well, a couple of chances near the end.
Yeah, I was obviously watching the game from inside, and I was up off my seat when them big two chances come. Obviously had David as well, who made another big save for us. But them two big chances, on another day maybe they go in, but to even generate them chances from where we were, on the edge of our box, to then be at the other end of the pitch, shows the desire of the boys. And yeah, look, 1-1 in the end. Obviously it's not ideal because we want to win every game. That's what we strive for. That's what we believe we can do. But when you take the context out of it, 10 men for 50 minutes, in the end I think that's a really strong point, and we'll keep battling and fighting. It's only been 3 weeks since the start of the season, and yeah, we're going to keep going in the right direction.
Reading of the second yellow for Declan.
I was amazed, because in the first half when the opponents did that, he didn't get any booking, and he makes the call by law in a non-critical area on the pitch after the ball hitting his heel and turning around to make that decision. But by law he can do it. Then be consistent, and as well, if that's the case, then you have to send Bellman off because it's a red card, and then we play 10 against 10.
I think he kicked it away a bit, so I kicked him instead of the ball. But he was clearly saying, I didn't kick the ball, So I need to see it back, though, to have a clear opinion about it. But my feeling, he kicked it away, and the rule's saying it's a second yellow, yeah.
For me, he shoots the ball away, so it's a clear yellow card. Of course, it changes the momentum of the game. Yeah, in the end, again, we wanted to win here. We didn't do it, so we have to be satisfied with the draw.
I thought it was a bit harsh, for us. We just want some consistency, In the first half, João Pedro's booted the ball with his left foot half the way across the pitch, and he's got absolutely nothing for it. And Deck does the slightest touch, and he's sent off. So, yeah, for me, it's a bit harsh, but it is what it is. I don't want to put the whole game on the referee. We still had chances to win the game.
Well, that's what all the talk's about, isn't it? The second yellow card for Declan Rice. We forgot the first one, but that probably was.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a huge game because Arsenal were quite comfortable at that point. This is a yellow, I think we all agree. Late, just catches him. Same two players again. And then here, when it starts, kind of all a bit, well, what's going on? Who's done what? Initially, I thought that, he's just lashed out and kicked Declan Rice. And then when you see it, he's making out that he kicked him because he's trying to clear the ball. I don't quite believe that.
No, but nor do I, because the ball's rolling as well, so you can't take a free kick when the ball is rolling.
But let's deal with Declan Rice's second yellow. The letter of law, it's a second booking. He's kicked it out of play. He's given the referee no choice, and the referee makes the decision.
I think this is another classic example where football has lost its mind.
Right.
For people getting a red card
for that.
For flicking a ball about 12 inches. Second yellow, which still means it goes off.
Well, this is the inconsistency one. Now, you and I both know, well, we all know, he's booted the ball away and he already knows how to play. It's a yellow card. What the officials would say, that there's no whistle, the player benefit the doubt because he could have been trying to keep it in play, whatever. The fact is, that's a yellow, and that's where the anger comes because it's inconsistent. I think Declan deserved the second yellow, unlike him.
He deserved it technically, but you could see Chris Kavanagh giving him the yellow card. He knew he was technically he needed to give that, but
he did.
In the back of his mind, you can see, I don't want to give this yellow, but the rules are rules.
Veltman's very lucky, man. He could have been sent off for that.
Yeah.
That wasn't him playing, taking a free kick. Let's get that clear.
Absolutely. OK, well, the points dropped at home. How will they reflect on that?
I think when they wake up in the morning, they'll be really pleased with how they performed for 40 minutes against a good Brighton side. Defended really well, put their bodies on the line, looked fit, looked sharp, broke away, and could have had 2 really good chances. He'll be proud of the team.
Yeah, and well played.
Well, a very emotional afternoon for sure. I think we started the game really well, created 3 or 4 big chances that we didn't convert. After that, we had a period of some issues, especially with the ball. After regaining the ball, that we lost it in some difficult areas, and we lacked some continuity and dominance in that period. Scored a really good goal in a moment that we take the advantage of the opponent. And then we go to halftime, we come back, we are really strong, and then obviously the referee makes a decision that changes the course of the game. And it's still like this, with 10 men, the team reacts unbelievably well, the stadium reacts unbelievably well, and probably we should have won the game.
The red card is obviously what everyone's talking about. What do you think of it?
I was amazed. Amazed, because how inconsistent decisions can be. In the first half, there are 2 incidents, nothing happens, and then in a non-critical area, the ball hits Declan heel. He turns around, he doesn't see the play coming, he touches the ball. By law, he can make that call, but by law then he needs to make the next call, which is red card. So we play 10 against 10. So this is what amazed me. It's at this level, it's honestly amazing.
You spoken to that?
Yeah. Yeah, obviously we had a reaction that it was back to goal. It's not in the middle of the park that they're trying to counter or anything. Anyway, I repeat myself, by law, you want to do it, you didn't do it in the first half, do it, but then you have to play 10 against 10. That's it. Very simple.
Brian?
Mikel, you said you need to be near perfect to beat Manchester City. Then 2 chances at the end, Saka and Havertz. Is it frustrating that one of those didn't go in? Because it would have felt like a huge victory.
Yeah, for sure, because the spirit, how well we control the emotional part of the game, because it was really hard one to take, really hard one to take. But the team reacted that way. We showed a lot of discipline. We adapted to what we had to do, playing at home with 10 men, and we don't want to be sitting deep for so long like this, but we read the game and we played the game that we had to play, and we should have got rewarded.
Mikel, can I just ask you, you're also not going to have Declan now for the North London derby.
Yeah.
Mikel's that injured. How big a blow is that to be missing 2 players like that for the game?
Well, this is what happened, so we have to adapt to that context. That's why we have other players that can fulfill that and give the opportunity to somebody else.
This last one, obviously, Raheem joined last night. He hasn't really had much football because of the situation at Chelsea. You're hoping in these 2 weeks you can get him in shape to hopefully be involved for that stuff?
Yeah, we have to see. We have to see him, speak to him, what he's been doing, how he's feeling about it, and try to find quick wins to get him up to speed as quick as possible, and him understanding what we are looking for him and the dynamics of the team, and we'll use that time to do that, and as soon as possible get him involved.
Alex Gibson.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
Have you spoken to the referee? Did he say to you why he didn't give the yellow card in the first half of the Brighton play, but did for Arsenal?
No, he did.
Okay, probably just do a couple more now. Firstly, Jordan.
Mikel, just on those inconsistencies, how does that improve? Obviously, it's a very subjective call from a referee, but how do we change, how do we improve those inconsistencies?
I don't know. This is not in our hands, so we don't know.
James?
Just also, you were in Timber as you looked like he came off with a problem.
No, he was, I think, cramping. He got a kick, I think, in that in the first half, and then he was cramping, so we had to take him off.
So it's not an injury?
I don't think so.
Okay, guys. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.
That red card, despite the share of the spoils, will be what's talked about. It changed the game for you, did it?
Totally, yeah. I was at this game and neither team played particularly well, I've got to say. I was expecting more from the game. But there's no doubt Arsenal looked as though they were going to be the team in the second half to go out, extend their lead and go on and win the game. And the sending off changed the game totally.
Let's talk about it a little bit more and look at it closely. This is the first yellow for Declan Rice. Now, teams have been warned, all 20 teams have been warned that this season, the incident that leads to his second yellow, we're showing you his first there, this incident would be a yellow card for this season, delaying a restart. The referee applied that law and he gives him a yellow card. Chris Kavanagh, everyone was briefed about it.
Yeah, but again, it's nonsense, to be honest with you, because there's 60, 70,000 people that watch a game of football. You know, that yellow card, that red card changed the game. Declan's not really that type of player. I know Danny Welbeck is saying, look, it's a second yellow, maybe by the letter of the law. But let's have a little bit of feel for these moments. I don't think that's... The first one's a yellow for sure. I think the second one is incredibly harsh. I don't want to see football games decided by these little technicalities, in my opinion. I would just let the guys on the pitch figure it out. I think it's far more interesting. That's what the fans want to see. That's what they pay the money. That's what the millions across the world want to see. A red card's a red card, I know. But that, for me, just is... I don't want to see that in deciding games.
I'm going to stick with you, Owen, because you mentioned João Pedro, and Arteta spoke about consistency. Bukayo Saka, at another point in that interview, also spoke about consistency. And their main gripe is, if Declan gets a yellow for that, surely this is a yellow.
Jules, this is amazing. He kicks his 50 yards, and there's nothing given. And again, the point is, even Ødegaard saying as captain, look, you know, that's going to be a yellow card. And again, they make a great point. Saka, Arteta, if you're going to do it, you've got to be consistent. If you're not going to give that, then you shouldn't give the Declan Rice one. I can completely understand them.
So 100% records for both of them coming into this one. We knew one or both would go. They both did. Arsenal got the opening goal. And then, as you mentioned, that red card changing things, because shortly after, Brighton equalised.
Yeah, they did. As I say, Brighton come into the game at that stage. I think Mikel made a substitution, almost went to 5 at the back, you know, and I don't think that helped the team, if I'm being quite honest with you. Great through ball between the centre-halves. Centre-halves will be really, really disappointed that they've been bisected as they have. But what you've got to say as well, when you see the recovery, I think it's Saliba, the left-sided centre-half, has almost pulled away expecting his partner to win a challenge. He hasn't done that. You know, Saliba's pulled away slightly, and a good follow-up, I've got to say, and he's put it in the back of the net. And from that moment on, it was near enough all Brighton, apart from 2 counter-attacks from Arsenal.
Yeah, and those counter-attacks, Kai Havertz scored the opening goal, had an opportunity to win the game.
Yeah, it's a big moment, and I think Kai's been amazing as a centre-forward for Arsenal. The one thing, maybe the last thing maybe missing is kind of that finishing maybe in those moments. His first touch is brilliant to kind of bring the ball down. But if he can start finishing some of these chances, then he'd be one of the best strikers in the Premier League.
A great start from Brighton, I suppose, going to Arsenal and getting that point after winning the opening 2 games. But will they feel, given that they had a one-man advantage, it's 2 points dropped?
I think they will. I think they've got a manager that will look at the whole picture, though. You know, his team were probably outplayed in the first half, and the sending off has got them back into the game. They've taken 7 out of 9 points. They've played 2 away games. They played Manchester United at home. They'll be absolutely delighted going into the international break with that points tally.
Well, after the highs of last night's dramatic transfer of Raheem Sterling, the optimism that came with it, Arsenal hit a bump in the road with that home draw against Brighton as their winning start to the season comes to an end. A game that clearly turned on that second yellow for Declan Rice. Ian, how do you reflect on that game after 90 minutes?
Well, I think after the first half, you have to say Arsenal were very much in control. You can hear Andy Townsend was saying how disappointed he was with Brighton in the first half, but obviously Arsenal should have scored a couple more maybe in the first half. But then the second half, after the sending off, Brighton made some very good substitutions because they've got the players to do it. And they went for the game. And I think that Arsenal now, especially see the fans booing at the end there, obviously disappointed with the referee, that is a good point now. That's a good point. Listen, Declan will look back at that, and I'm sure that Declan will be the first one. We know what he's about. He'll probably apologise for that, but it changed the game. It turned the game.
Can you understand the fans' frustrations there, clearly because of the red card?
I think that when you watch that game, you probably they're not happy with the referee. That's what it is.
But was it the right call for you?
I think that the referee probably made all the right calls because he went by the book with the calls that he made. I think that Arsenal fans are probably thinking not a lot went in our way, the way he refereed the game. But at the same time, you know, the first half for me was the one where maybe you realise now where you've got to take advantage of these situations.
Yeah, I just think potentially that's why the fans are booing maybe, because I don't think they've maybe seen the little touch from Declan when he kind of being a bit cheeky, kicking the ball away. And
because at first they thought he was the one that was fouled.
Exactly, I thought it when I first seen it. So maybe it's one of those. But I think on the whole, yes, Arsenal weren't at their best in that second half, and the red card probably changed it. But in those type of scenarios, the most important thing is you don't get beat. You still leave the Emirates with something. They've managed to do that. They weathered the storm. I still think Brighton didn't take maybe full advantage of the fact it was 11 versus 10. Didn't really create enough opportunities. But for Arsenal, it's Arteta's a point gained.
Point apiece then, in the end, between two sides who see their 100% starts to the season come to an end. So that draw at the Emirates kicks off what is a busy 7-game Saturday. Ivan Toney's at the G-Tech, by the way, despite sealing his £40 million move to the Middle East. Brentford taking on a so far pointless Southampton. Everton similarly losing their first 2 games of the season. They face Bournemouth. Ipswich at home to Fulham. Winless Leicester hosts Villa in what is a Midlands derby in our feature match on Goal Rush. Elsewhere, Nuno Espirito Santo welcomes former club Wolves to the City ground. And the late game sees West Ham up against the defending champions Manchester City. 3 games on Sunday, Chelsea Palace, Newcastle Tottenham. And that huge fixture at Old Trafford between Manchester United and Liverpool. As a result of that point in North London for both sides at the Emirates, Brighton go top on goals scored ahead of Arsenal. Manchester City, though, can end the day at the summit. They go to West Ham, as I mentioned, later on today. Liverpool go to United tomorrow. Jules Breach talking to Lewis Dunn. Interesting first answer to that question when asked if he's happy with that point. So. I mean, they asked many questions of Arsenal in that second half. They were much better than the first 45.
They were, but I still don't think they asked them enough questions. I mean, when they go down to 10 men, Arsenal, and they still had a large chunk of that second half, they didn't really create too many clear-cut chances. I mean, Ayari come on, and if he gets his head up, he has a better shot on goal. But in terms of really hurting Arsenal, making them defend, I don't think they really did that. So that's probably why he says so-so, because when you get, 35, 40 minutes with 10 men, 11 versus 10, you've got to keep attacking, keep asking them questions, keep making them defend, and eventually you hope they get tired. But I just don't think they did enough.
Ian, I know, in the end, almost your overriding sense is one of relief of getting a point at the end.
Yeah, you have to feel that because, like I say, it's going to be a long season. There's games I thought that we played last season and before where, Arsenal should have recognised at a stage, right, you know what, OK, it's not going for us. Let's just make sure we get what we get in and not lose this game. We lost games like that before at Arsenal. So I think you've got to take the point. I still do believe that, Declan will probably look at the two yellows and be a bit disappointed. But at the same time, when you look at the referee and some of the decisions he made, you know what I mean? I think this referee's got main character energy anyway. But at the same time, when people are kicking the ball away in the first half and you're not booking, and then you kind of do feel a little bit aggrieved by that. So this is why I think that everybody was so upset. That challenge, yes, you look at it and you feel there's no studs showing. No. It's one of those challenges, a genuine attempt for the ball, but no, you get booked for that. And then obviously, again with this one, with everything that's going on, Declan here, we know what he's doing here. But you look at Veltman and what he's doing there. Veltman is trying to get him booked. Veltman's got no one to pass this ball to, right? He's got he knows he's there. Look, he's got no one to pass it to. He's not even looking at the ball. Veltman knows exactly what he's doing there. And those are the things as well, what the VAR have to look at. He knows what he's doing. He's trying to get him booked and sent off.
But does Declan Rice have to kick the ball?
No, Declan Rice doesn't have to kick the ball, but at the same time, Declan is playing the game, but so is Veltman. So you can recognise what Declan's doing, but then we're not supposed to recognise what Veltman's doing. He's not actually trying to pass that to anyone. He's not looking at the ball. He's acting like he's going to do it so that if it hits Declan, Declan gets booked, Declan's off, and that's what happened.
But this is what was made clear to all 20 Premier League sides from the referees and the assistants is you have to retreat and you can't get involved in a set piece in the way that he did.
Right.
So for not retreating, look, he knew this, and you can almost see the way Chris Kavanagh almost apologetically gave that second yellow. It was all you could see the look in his face, which was to say, look, you all know this rule now this season.
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen.
You can see him doing that. But then if we're going to be doing stuff like that and people kicking ball away, then do that in the first half to João Pedro. Book him, the ball went out of play and he still blasted the ball away. Then do that as well. I don't care about apologetic face and that. Just if you're going to play it by the, which I thought he done today, I thought he done everything. You think, well, yeah, he's got to probably do that. Then do it properly all the way through the game. That's why the Arsenal fans have got the hump today.
Aaron? Consistency. I think that's what Wright is alluding to there, is that if you are going to send Declan Rice off, and Declan Rice will look back at that and go, I've made a mistake here. Although Veltman wasn't playing the ball, But if you see these incidents in the first half and you do nothing about it, then you're going to expect criticism, because all people want with VAR, there's no issue with VAR, it's just consistency across the board. So not one decision is different to another decision if they're both kicking the ball away. And I think that's where the Arsenal fans certainly today are getting angry, because they're like, well, hold on, we've seen that first half, but then you couldn't wait to get the second yellow out for Declan.
But saying that with the Arsenal fans as well, I think you can hear in the stadium there's a little bit of impatience in respect of attacking them. You've got to recognise, like I say, sometime in the game where you think we've got to get a point. We've got to make sure we get a point.
Keep hold of what you've got.
Absolutely. They made some very good substitutions in Enciso, Adringa coming on, very dangerous players. Pedro already on there, causing problems. So you want to make sure you don't lose the game. And that is why I thought in the end the point is a very, very good point. You have to take it.
There's no doubt that red card for Declan Rice turned the game on its head. 7 minutes later, Brighton fully capitalised.
Yeah, and again, Lewis Dunk, really good play. I mean, no pressure on the ball, so he should drop. But it's a really good run from Minter, good pace. I mean, to be fair, Gabriel could have brought him down there and there could have been even more trouble. But it was a really good pass. But again, they don't drop because there's no pressure on the ball, and Arsenal just don't drop. And the gap between the two centre halves is way too wide. I mean, and he manages to play it in behind both of them. They almost cross over. But again, it's a really good run from Minter, good penetration through the middle, and João Pedro doing what all good centre forwards should do.
But the thing is, you look at that as well, and when you look at that in the play from there. You look at Thomas Partey, he's literally run past him.
Yeah.
Right, so Thomas Partey also has to recognise that in that instant, he has to go all the way with Pedro. At least make a challenge with him. Pedro just blasts past him and he's kind of jogging back. Those are the things that when you look back at that, you'll say, well, that could have been avoided. Maybe you could have put more pressure on Lewis Dunk. You know, he's got the capability. Put more pressure on that, cut that angle off for him, and I think Partey's got to cover Pedro.
All right, tell you what, let's get some post-match reaction to that big point for Brighton. Yassin Ayari joins us pitch side now from the Emirates. Yassin, I mean, that looked like a hard-fought point in the end. You had chances in the second. How do you reflect on it? A well-earned point, or it could have been more?
No, like you said, it could have been more. But still, we need to consider that we are unbeaten and we're playing against a good team today. But we should create some more chances and score some goals in the second half when they get the red card.
What was said at half-time? Because obviously we saw two very different sides to Brighton, no doubt helped by the red card, but you were much more on the front foot.
No, we just said that we just need to keep going because we had some chances in the first half also, but just keep going and the opportunities will come and we need to be sharper in front of the goal.
You had a chance in the second half yourself. How do you reflect on that?
I haven't seen it back, but I've heard that the first post was open, but I thought he's going to run to the first post, so I put it back in the second, but he was already there, so I should have put it in the first post.
OK. I mean, I was just trying to see if we could just run that for you to talk us through. In fact, we've got it here. Just tell us what you're thinking. Yassin?
Yeah, like I said, the first post was open. I thought he was running to the first post, but yeah, it was still there on the ground.
Do you think in that moment you didn't feel you had more time to maybe do that? Do you feel you had to go quicker there, yeah?
I think in the moment I thought I had a guy beside me, but if I stay calm and looked up, I will see that I have more time and the first post will be open. So there's something I need to work on.
Yeah, but look, listen, that's 2 wins and a draw. At the Emirates Stadium. It's still a fantastic start, albeit, you know, you may have lost a 100% record, but that was always going to be tough against Arsenal today.
No, of course, and we knew that before the game, and like I said before, we're unbeaten, and we're playing against a really good team today, and we just have to keep going after the international and keep improving, keep getting better in the small details, and I think we can do good things this season. Yeah, creditable point, and it keeps that feel-good factor very much alive under your new manager, Fabian Hrzler. Thanks for joining us. Thank you so much. Yassin Ayari, who joins us live from the Emirates Stadium. He speaks well. Yeah. I think he almost sounded a bit, almost despondent that he couldn't quite take his chance. But it was a difficult one.
Yeah, it was, because the ball came at him very quick. He had to control it and shoot very early. And when you could see that when he saw it, and what was interesting, what he said was, I'm going to have to work on that. Again, when it comes to certain strikers, like you say, natural strikers, you're not worried about what's coming behind you or beside you. All you're seeing is the scenario of what's in front of you right now. And that's where the calm, clinical strikers will get that under control quickly and pass it into that area, because you know the goalkeeper's going to try and get up and get across there. But you've got to get the ball under control early and be calm. If somebody comes and tackles you, then you just got to give them credit for doing that. But you do the basics in that moment of getting under control and hitting it in the right place, you're probably going to be calmer in front of goal.
Sounds a bit downbeat, and you can understand why.
Probably, yeah, because they know the job in hand, which is to try and get 90 points this season, dropping no points at home. So
because the margin of error is so small.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what it comes down to. That's why he's so disappointing. He's so disappointing for everybody.
Yeah, and Saka had a couple of chances.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he looked really sharp that first half, but just couldn't capitalise. I mean, does really well, gets himself to a good area. This one here, I felt for him because he does everything right in terms of getting himself in there, but maybe the cross was just a little bit. If he'd have curved his run a bit, he could have come onto it. But we're talking about fine margins, and he's done well to get there, but to try to generate power from there, it's too hard.
Big blow, though, without Declan Rice for the North London derby next week.
Yeah, it's a big blow. I think it's a big blow for us simply because he's so integral to everything what we're doing. If Declan's on the pitch for the second half, we'll probably win that game. He's a big miss, and I think you could see that in the way that we played in the second half. Arsenal played the second half. That to get a point is such a big point now.
Though, Ian, talking about a player who won't be involved for Arsenal today, who's made the switch from West London, Raheem Sterling with a transfer deadline day switch, and I know you are delighted.
I am delighted because he's a player that I adore. I think it's a perfect move for him at this stage of his career, especially what's going on with him at Chelsea, and it's absolutely perfect for Arsenal with a coach that he knows, a coach that helped him to get to the levels that he's got to. The deal in respect to Chelsea, subsidising it as well, works perfectly. He's motivated, obviously, now, in respects of leaving Chelsea, coming to Arsenal, and coming to a club of Arsenal's stature where we're still trying to get where we need to go. To get a player like Raheem Sterling like this, it's an unbelievable deal. I'm so happy.
There he is. He's already in situ to see his prospective new teammates take to the field against the Seagulls. Do you agree with Ian in many respects, Darren? This is a no-brainer for both parties.
Yeah, because again, he's going from one situation where he was quite clearly told by the manager Maresca that he wasn't going to play. He wasn't his type of winger, but he's going into an environment where he's worked with the manager before, Mikel Arteta, who spoke about him in glowing references before. And I think he's hungry as well. He's only 29 years old as well. We've still got a lot of football to play. He's got that attitude and that mentality where he's been at the top. He knows what it takes to win those big honours, those major trophies. And he looks like a good character as well. So as Ian said there, I 100% agree. It is the perfect character going into that dressing room. And a lot of the younger players in that squad will learn off him as well, because when there was whispers of it, I was excited thinking, I hope this gets done. But the fact that now it has been done, I think he's only going to be a positive addition to Arsenal, I really do.
And Ian, while he's not involved against Brighton today, he could make his Arsenal debut against Tottenham in the North London derby, where he could become an instant hit with the Gunners fans.
Listen, I'm not trying to skip ahead, but I couldn't help but know when they said that will be his first game, to think how it's just falling into place for him. I can't emphasise enough how he must be feeling leaving that situation and getting into this situation where he's still challenging for something. It's an unbelievable move. I'm so happy.
And I know this is only match week 3, but this is a good test for both these sides, isn't it, considering how well they've started?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Arsenal started off really well. Obviously, had a test in Villa where they struggled both times, home and away last season. All their performances were good. And Brighton have started off really well. Went to Everton, where I expected Everton to be better this season, considering the season they had last season. But Brighton went there and won that pretty comfortable, and then beating Manchester United last week as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough test for both teams, but both teams that play a really exciting brand of football. So, I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but I can't see like a 1-1 or a 0-0, just because simply by the way the two teams play.
Thanks for that, Darren. Right, well, it's been a...
Well, I just want to bring you this tweet from Oliver Holt, because Mikel Arteta there referenced the lack of consistency there, and Ollie Holt saying, as so often, there is a consistency issue too. In the first half, João Pedro kicked the ball away in front of the dugouts after it had gone into touch, no yellow card. That's what correctly infuriates managers and fans. You can't say fairer than that.
No, that's the frustration. Like we said, João Pedro kicks it away. There's another one, I think, where the ball in their hands and you kind of retreat back and throw it high in the air. I mean, that's delaying play. There's so many factors to it, and obviously that changed the game completely. Declan Rice nudges it away, and he has delayed the restart, so that does warrant a yellow card. But what Veltman does was obviously gamesmanship. There's no denying that. That was 100% a factor. There was no way in the world he's trying to play a pass there. He's trying to get someone sent off. At the end of the day, Brighton are going back down to the south coast with a point.
He also talked about how pleased he was with the way Arsenal reacted when they went down to 10 men, Martin. And they did have a couple of good chances, didn't they? Especially that one for Kai Havertz.
Well, they did. I mean, they were pinned back into their own box for most of the time, and then they were on the counter-attack. I mean, Havertz here does all this on his own. This is power, strength, and then almost that precision, but the fantastic save from the keeper there. Sticks her foot out, really stands up big. And that, you know, I mean, he's done everything right there, Havertz, but score. He could have lifted it.
I thought Saka could have gone down there as well. You know, credit to him for staying on his feet, but he could have gone down there and it could have been a penalty.
Yeah.
I thought Havertz was brilliant, though, I have to say. He led the line really, really well.
Just going from strength to strength here, Peter.
Yeah, it really is. And that combination between him and Saka as well looks fantastic. They're playing really well.
And I think that the guys were saying it rightly so in commentary, that ball was really punched in by Havertz there. Saka just couldn't make up the ground, and it would have been, you know, you look at City and you think you've got to be perfect every week. So you know, we'll have to see how the season unfolds. Is it 2 points dropped or is it 1 gained? You know, they were backs to the wall for large periods. Brighton will be disappointed. It's a young group. You know, this manager, if he's in this situation again, will probably capitalise. So all in all, I think both teams going away reasonably happy, although Declan Rice now suspended for the Spurs game is a huge, very expensive afternoon for Arsenal.
That's the thing. Does it feel more like 2 points dropped in the context of the fixtures that they have coming up, with Spurs away and then Manchester City away in their next 2 games?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it wasn't the game that we all thought it would be today. It was quite bitty. The sending off kind of changed it. It had 2 free-flowing sides playing fantastic, expansive football. It wasn't the case today. It was, at times, they had to grind the results out either side. I think Brighton found it difficult to break Arsenal down. You know, the manager came out here and spoke to us, and credit to him, he wasn't happy with a point at one of the title favourites. So he was obviously pleased with the way they played, but you know, it could have been more for them.
Even up to half-time, they had 55% possession. They're very clever, the way that they manage things. They slow it all down. They were hanging on in those first 10 or 15 minutes. No real protection for Hinchelwood down that left-hand flank. They sorted that out, resolved it. It almost helped them a little bit, Milner going off to further slow things down. Arsenal lost their momentum. But I thought they reacted well in the second half. You concede, you know, a young group of players, you go a goal down at half-time. He obviously, you know, got into his group and they got back in it. And then the sending off, of course, though, you can't tell me any different. This game would have been somewhat different if Declan Rice stays on the pitch.
When we spoke a lot last season, Martin, you really felt that game away at Man City, that Arsenal could have won. They had the opportunity to win. It came away with a draw, was so significant in that title race. Can we already talk about these 2 fixtures? 2 of Arsenal's hardest fixtures of the season in a context of the title race, or is it way too soon for that?
The thing was, when the fixtures came out and you see that you're playing Aston Villa away, you're playing Spurs away, and you're playing Man City away, you know that you've got to have parity with Man City going into that game. You've got to win every single match. And there you find yourself against Brighton. They're re-emerging again, aren't they? They fell away at the back end of last season. They've done really well. You have to applaud what Brighton do. They make all the right calls. This guy now is an outstanding manager. Tactically, he's very, very clever. So it was difficult for Arsenal today. They live to fight another day. You know, let's see Moreno, a bit of a disaster, getting injured. And then, of course, the sending off. It's been a double whammy, and not a lucky start. Certainly not lucky Arsenal right now, but they've still got plenty to play for.
What do you think?
The issue is Manchester City has set the bar so high that it feels like a draw at home to Brighton. You know, you're almost thinking, is it over? You know, I mean, obviously you're not going to say that right at the start of the season, but little points. You might look at this at the end of the season and think these 2 points could be the difference.
Already a dent, if not over.
A
dent in their title aspirations, perhaps today, dropping 2 points at home to Brighton. Of course, the game impacted hugely hard for kicking the ball away, and this has really got you talking on social media. Harry saying that kick the ball away, it's a yellow card, correct decision, well done ref. And then Al says, I saw João Pedro kick the ball away in the first half with everyone shouting for it and the ref ignoring. Declan Rice has just been sent off for tapping it in the second half. So the lack of consistency as well really getting to people. Jack thinks it was harsh on Rice, but you can't interfere with the free kick like it's a textbook yellow card. Very silly. And this one, I think,
that's from Arsene Wenger, so we better listen to it.
Definitely an Arsenal fan, this one. It's Arsene Wenger. 33179. Wow, you start giving second yellows for these fouls. The demands for punishments are going to be extremely high from now on. Rice moves slightly in the way of a free kick, and he got a kick on his legs. The referee deems it worthy of a second yellow. Big decision in this game, and it did change the match as well. We can get the thoughts of Bukayo Saka now with Jules. We'll be ready. Bukayo Saka there. Another good game for him. Another assist. That's 3 already for him this season. One of the big worries is always the amount of game time he has to have, Peter. How do you think the signing of Raheem Sterling will ease the burden on him?
Yeah, I think he's a great, fantastic squad player to bring in. Raheem Sterling to play right across the front. He's a proven goal scorer in this league. I think he's probably been underappreciated really for a number of years. He had a difficult time at Chelsea, but he's come in and I think he'll do well here. But Saka is irreplaceable. I think certainly in the first half, Hinshelwood was having a torrid time down this right hand side, and you have to double up. Any team in world football has to double up against Saka, because left one on one, I back him against anyone.
It was an interesting. Jules asked him the question, about what was said after the game, and he implied that when we're on top, we need to finish the thing off. 2 or 3 goals might have been enough when you get a difficult situation and things go against you. If we build that lead more convincingly, 1-0 was always precarious. So maybe that was the call. I can only think maybe of Ødegaard when he perhaps should have headed the ball when he goes with his right foot. But that's what they've got to do, maybe be more emphatic. And when they're in front in games, finish the job off. But credit to Brighton, they came back well. Veltman's, we're going to talk about that all night, aren't we? But obviously, I'm talking from an Arsenal point of view, and I just definitely feel that he plays the ball. There's mitigating circumstances. He plays it into Rice's space. It's a bit different from a player being asked to walk away from it. When the person you're playing against passes it into your feet, I think that makes it a little bit difficult. Rice shouldn't react, though.
I was going to say, do you think, obviously Rice is in the wrong for tapping it away as well?
He's got to be smarter. He knows it's a yellow card, surely, in that case.
Yeah, I remember getting sent off. I think I was 19 years of age, and I think I was on a yellow card and retreating. I just lifted my leg up a little bit like that, and the balls hit my leg, and I get sent off for 5-6 yards.
That's a big leg, though.
It's a little movement, but it's enough to stop the taking of the free kick, and I'm just sent off for it. I think better, really, and I think Declan will look at that and think, I should have reacted probably slightly better. But having said that, Veltman for me has played him.
He'll be frustrated. He's never been sent off in his career. He made 37 starts for them last season. How big a loss is that going to be for the Spurs game?
It's a huge loss, Mine, right? It's massive.
Incredible.
Huge games coming up as well, and to be without Declan Rice now for a few games.
Yeah, he was quite outstanding the game last season at White Hart Lane. So no, it's a big miss, but of course it was a double whammy, because yesterday you lost your replacement, Moreno, coming in and breaking that bone in his shoulder. So let's hope he's not out for too long. But they've got to find a way. You've got to dig deep. It was worrying looking at the bench. You've lost Reece Nelson, you've lost Smith Rowe. You can't call upon those little bits of experience. Nobody on the bench, with no striker on the bench. Jesus injured right now, so the international break will help to get people back, patch people up and get them back again for the onslaught of games that are coming along against Spurs and Man City away.
It should just be one game with the second yellow card, but that game, Peter, I'm sure you're a little bit happy it's against Spurs.
Yeah, that's it's an North London derby, so thick and fast for Arsenal at the moment, and I think it's so early to start. We can't be writing Arsenal off in the title race. For instance, they've lost a player today, they've drawn a game, they haven't lost it, but they've still looked really sharp in the 3 games. And I think it is nothing's changed my opinion that they will be the closest to challenge Manchester City this year, without doubt.
Manchester City, though, showing no signs of fading away, going anywhere the way they've started this season. They're up against West Ham as well today, where they've got a very good record against the Hammers.
West Ham have done really well in the transfer market, bought lots of players in, done their work really early. Gundogan coming back in, he's like the glue again, isn't he, to pull that Man City team back together. They're just amazing how every year on year, their desire amongst the group to keep going. They're creating history every year. It'll be 5 on the bounce if they can do it this year. So, I don't think it's going to be easy. Everyone can stand back. When you're in a successful dressing room, it looks easy from the outside, but it isn't. They make it look easy. But Haaland at the moment looks irresistible. So he'll be thinking about a hat-trick today.
He's got 7 hat-tricks in 68 Premier League games. It's not normal, is it?
I'll be honest, Liz, one of my proudest achievements was getting in the 100 club in the Premier League. He's on the verge of doing that in 4 seasons.
How long did you take?
15.
But you're in it.
Do you know what, Linz?
And
I was good, though. I could play, honestly.
It's a select club. And I think there's only one in the 200 club as well.
Yeah, it's not me.
You should be proud of that. Should be proud of that.
It's Big Al, and we're very proud of that fact. Huge game at Old Trafford as well today, guys. Liverpool against Manchester United.
Gosh.
Liverpool have started really well, Peter. If they get a win in that, are we starting to put them right in the title conversation this early?
Yeah, a bit early. I mean, obviously they've played a couple of games there, 2 games that you would expect them to win. Having said that, I think they've been comfortable. Certainly second half of the Ipswich game, I thought they were fantastic. But this is the real test, I think, going to Manchester United, and we can see kind of where they are. I think we can really see the value of them. I don't know. I think top 4's probably where they're at. I think they're slightly just behind Arsenal and Manchester City at this moment in time, but things are looking good.
Win that and the expectations will go up a bit, though.
It's a huge game in English football, isn't it? Liverpool, Manchester United. You think back last year to, I think their title race pretty well ended by not beating Manchester United. They're going out of the FA Cup, so there's a lot on that game. New manager, so that could get a bit tasty.
We were at Brighton last weekend where Manchester United lost that game very, very late. But because of what happened in the summer and because of the way they've started the season, if Manchester United don't win tomorrow against Liverpool, what do you think the conversation will then be around Erik ten Hag?
I think it's been really difficult. Obviously, all the changes seem to be made above him or upstairs, if you like. Things rebuilding the training ground, they're rebuilding the stadium, but and they've cleared some of the players that didn't want to be there on a lot of money. They've cleared some of them out. They seem to have signed some good players, but they're not quite getting the results yet. But I do think things are taking a positive step. I feel like things are improving for them, but obviously the biggest improvement needs to be on the pitch, and we haven't seen that yet.
And a quick one on Sancho to Chelsea. Chelsea love a winger. They love a winger more than Steve Sidwell loves puddings.
They do. Not quite that much, maybe, but yeah, they love a winger. And listen, I don't know where he's going to fit in.
You're on a wing and a prayer when you're signing for Chelsea, aren't you? If you can get a game every week,
Looking
there's
to
a
get
amount of
back
players that
stronger.
they've got.